well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
The second one is Daxita, but he's away. So the third one is Aisha Hafiza. I'll explain you as a currently pursuing MSc candidate of entrepreneurship in University College London and the co-founder of Focaccia.
Yes.
A chain of food and beverage.
Restaurant.
Should I explain what is that?
Restaurant.
The restaurant, a chain of restaurant.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last one is Basma Alduki. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Aduhi.
Aduhi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basma Aduhi.
Right.
Okay. You are an activist, humanitarian and refugee protections for UNHCR and UNRWA. And then
Anarwa, if you can say I am now a student. If you can say I am a humanitarian and development practitioner, and I am now a student.
Okay, so you're currently pursuing your MA in Oxford Brookes University.
Yes.
For development and emergency practice.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Okay, I think we're live already. And we're just gonna wait for Daxita to come back.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to Basma, do you want me to also mention about that you are an awardee of Rebecca Dykes Awards and Residential Cumberland Lodge Scholarship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I just want to make sure that's, but I need to talk to Daxita because I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
I'm going to tell it. 10 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry, I was thinking, like, should I mention that I'm also sponsored by LPDP? Because, like, you're going to mention about Basma's scholarship, right?
Well, if you want to, that's fine. If you don't want to, that's also fine. Because it's a.
I think you should. Yeah, I was just thinking about it.
Okay. It feels like you own something to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll do. That would be a scholarship from what endowment? Sorry.
The Ministry of Finance, Indonesia.
Yep.
I think it's called Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education.
Yeah. That's what I meant. You got your coffee?
I did.
Yeah, okay, because I have questions how to pronounce your last name because I don't want to misspell it.
Okay, it's a bit of a difficult one. So it's Vikramaratna.
Come again?
Vikramaratna.
Vikramaratna.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I have no reservations against you not saying that. So if you don't want to say that, that's completely fine.
Because I'm gonna tell everyone's full name, and I don't want to tell you, only your first name. That would be.
Okay.
I think we can start, Vicky.
And it should be in 5 minutes, no?
Yeah, you can say something for the opening.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're all in good spirit despite the disheartening conditions that we're currently in. Today, we join virtually by our highly esteemed speaker. The first one, we have Brigita Darminto, currently pursuing DPhil in materials of University of Oxford. She was an awardee of LPDP Scholarship, Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education. The second speaker is Daxita Vikramaratna, if I hopefully I might pronounce it correctly. He's a member of UN Secretary General panel in 2016 until 2018 for the Every Woman, Every Child Independent Accountability. And then the co-founder of Youth Advocacy Network in Sri Lanka. The third one, we have Aisha Hafiza. She's currently pursuing MSc currently pursuing MSc in entrepreneurship in University College of London. She's the co-founder of Wakacau. It's a chain of restaurants in Indonesia. The last one, but definitely not the least, we have Basma Eduhi. She's an activist, humanitarian and refugee protections for UNHCR and UNRWA. She's a student in Oxford Brookes University pursuing development and emergency practice. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Despite a sudden change that we have to move the time, the place from reality to not so reality, but thank you very much for joining us. So I think we'll give the first floor to Brigitta. You have 10 minutes.
Hi, thank you for the time. So for my presentation, I have some PPT slides, so I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully it works. Can you all see my full screen?
Yeah.
Hello, can you all see my full screen? Yes, okay. So I'm going to start my presentation. Hello all, good evening. I am Brigitta Drestanti Darminto, currently a DPhil student at the University of Oxford, doing research on solid state batteries for renewable energies. Previously, I was an engineer at Jaguar Land Rover and British Aerospace and Marconi Electronic Systems, also known as BAE Systems. But today I'm here as a representation of women in STEM. So here are the contents of my today's presentation. So I'll talk about people who influenced me the most, biggest struggles and pebble stones in my journey, lessons in my career and personal development journey, and women's journey, and is women's journey different from men's, and how does progress in my area help women in Indonesia? And finally, my final message. So moving to next slide, which is like people who influenced me the most. So the first two are my parents. The pictures are at the bottom here. So why I believe that my parents has the most influence in my journey, because like when they brought me up, they never differentiated between men's and women's job. They showed me examples in everyday life. My father is an engineer, so I was exposed to STEM from early on. I used to do experiments and mini projects with him on the weekend. It is quite normal in our family to casually talk about range of subjects from music, finance to engineering at dining table. And sometimes my father would show pictures of women engineers, and some of them are actually his co-workers. One woman that I still remember clearly until now was a captain of his offshore oil platform. She was the only woman on the platform, but she's the captain. And this gave me a strong message that women can actually do anything despite the odds. And the last one of the people who influenced me the most, the picture is at the top. He's a professor of materials chemistry at MIT, Professor Donald Sadoway. He's the one who inspired me to pursue the energy storage subject. So what are the biggest struggles and pebble stones that I had in my journey? Actually, it is to decide what I really want to do and stick with it through thick and thin. For me personally, STEM is really fascinating. There are a lot of interesting subjects and research. It was quite hard for me to decide which one I really want to pursue. Then how did I choose? I actually reflect on what I'm good at, and then what I love doing, and how I can contribute to the betterment of the wider community using my research, and obviously how I can get paid for. So this is almost like the Ikigai concept from Japan. And then once I decided, I was faced with a lot of struggles and a lot of stereotypes, both personal and technical. Technically, what I'm doing now, a battery researcher, is challenging. Sometimes I have to perform experiments that never been done before, and in this case, failure is normal. And usually from those failures, I learned a lot of things. And then in most of my time at university and career as an engineer, I'm the only woman in the team. And when I had to work from home due to things related to my biological cycle, at first I didn't know who to talk to because they are all men. But my mother, she reminded me and she encouraged me. She said, tell your boss. And she was sure that my boss would understand because he would have a mother, sister, or girlfriend that might face the same situation. So I told my boss, and she was right. My mother was right. He became my advocate. And then, what are the lessons that I received in my career and personal development journey? I think 3 lessons that I got. First one is be yourself, believe in yourself, and never limit that you can do it. So be yourself means like, even though you're the only woman in the team, like you don't have to man up. People generally have a lot of worries, and sometimes those worries stop you from doing what you really want to do. But for my case, like I just do it. And I think if you really want to pursue a career in STEM, then you need to pursue it without limitation and hesitation. And then second one is have perseverance and determination. I think this is like the main ingredients for any kind of success in life. Basically, don't let any failures to actually demotivate you. And last one is empower others, because I believe that we're stronger when we're together. And then is women's journey different from men's? In my opinion, yes, but so does my journey with another woman's journey. Personally, I think everyone's journey is different. We all come from different backgrounds and different circumstances. The people and the struggles we met also different. But from my personal experience and observation, women are more likely to have caring responsibilities of all different kinds. So they have to juggle between the two, between the career in STEM, for example, and the caring responsibilities. And when they can't, most of them has to give up their career. And this is what happened to my mom. I think if an employer can be flexible so that a woman's work hour can be flexible, then this will be a win-win situation or solution, because she will be able to stay in the job and then repay the investment that the employers have put in her training many times over. So this is not the last actually, but the next question is, how does your progress in your area help women in Indonesia further? I think unlike other speakers here, the progress I make in my area will not have direct impact to women in Indonesia, because as a battery researcher, I work to develop next generation batteries for renewable energy. But what I do in my spare time is I do STEM outreach with the University of Oxford and mentoring with the Indonesia Mengglobal. I hope this work can help increase the number of women in STEM, both in the UK and in Indonesia. And why do I believe that we need more women in STEM? Because scientific research is more accurate when gender is considered. Most scientific research does not consider sex or gender as variables and treats male as the norm, resulting in health and safety outcomes for women and men. And then second one is women bring unique perspective to research and scientific conversation. For researcher in Bangladesh, for example, being a woman has made her aware of hardships and faced by many women in her country. An example is Dr. Tanzima Hashem, Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Bangladesh. Basically, she said, in our country, it is common that women face harassment on the street, in public transport, and at public events. But women don't feel comfortable telling others about it. So she led the development of an app that allows women to share their experiences while having their privacy protected. This is an example of women bringing unique perspective to research and scientific conversation. And finally, what is my final message to women and men who wants to support women in pursuing and leading their causes and career? Basically, I believe that women need mentors and sponsors, especially male mentors and sponsors. What is a mentor? Mentor is a person that gives advice to the mentee, and sponsors are advocates to their proteges. Basically, sponsors are usually from people in senior level executive. I believe that coaching and mentoring female students and women in the workforce is a key need, particularly with relative number of female leaders. And an example is from Annette Rippert, Senior Managing Director of Accenture Technology. She and I experienced the same thing, where basically we face cultural and institutional barriers to advancement that in our careers. and we really needed mentors and sponsors. Right now, I'm quite lucky as a researcher at the University of Oxford. I have both mentors, and I have one mentor and one sponsor. So my mentor is a woman postdoc in my research group, and then my supervisor, my research supervisor, he's my sponsor, who's actually trying to drive me and to guide me to excel in my research. Thank you for listening. This is my presentation. And last slide, these are some of the examples of women scientists. And also there is a link if you're interested for a YouTube video about a class that turned around kids' assumptions of gender roles. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brigitta. I hope that you can hear the claps virtually somehow. Because yay. All right. So continue from Brigitta. We have Daxita coming up. You have 10 minutes.
Sure. Thank you so much, Vicky. And honestly, it's a great pleasure to be talking with all of you today. First of all, I'd like to thank the PPI UK and the Embassy Republic of Indonesia for actually giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you. And I must say that it's actually an honor to be sharing this platform with 4 other brilliant women advocates who are really pushing the ceiling and pushing the boundaries to achieve the equality. And within my 10 minutes, I'm actually planning to talk a little bit about the concepts of power and a little bit on the masculinities. And then I'm hoping to bring experience from some of the work I have been doing in Sri Lanka and Asia. And finally, to share the commitment we all have to gender equality in everything we do, from our work, from our education, and in our day-to-day lives. To start off with, I'll give you a little bit of background of myself and the journey I've had in Sri Lanka. And before I start, I actually have to declare, and the declaration is the privileges I have gotten because I was born in Sri Lanka as a man and being a heterosexual. Those two things itself are some of the most important privileges in society, and sometimes people don't understand that. But simply because of the fact that I was born as a man, I'm being privileged as most of the other my sisters or my cousins who are women. And it didn't really hit me until sometime until I started working or until I started going to school. But although in my childhood, living in Sri Lanka during the ethnic conflict actually helped me open my eyes towards injustice and oppression in general in society. But I really started questioning these stereotypes only when I started going to my university as a student social worker. And when I was doing my bachelor's degree, I was able to work with different levels of underprivileged communities and groups. And that was actually the time I started questioning these systematic inequalities and the reasons behind why a certain group of people are privileged than the other. And this questioning didn't really take a long time for me to realize that everywhere, no matter which country you're coming from, no matter which society you belong to, no matter which ethnicity you belong to, unfortunately, women are worse off than men, simply because they are women. And simply because we live in a patriarchal society, there are systematic inequalities embedded in our day-to-day life, which actually discriminates women and which actually create barriers for them to access resources, including education, including financial resources, including employment. And the worst situation is that if you are a migrant woman or a refugee woman, or you are someone who's living with disabilities, or you are someone who's belong to a particular minority ethnicity, the difficulties you face is even greater. So there's like this dual layer of discrimination if you are someone from a minority group and you are a woman. And I have to say the most overwhelming injustice across the globe right now is gender inequality and discrimination against women and girls. That's the most overwhelming injustice right now across the globe. And we have to start working towards that, towards addressing that. We need to understand that we live in a very patriarchal world. There are very strong gender stereotypes everywhere across the globe. The moment a baby is born, and sometimes even before that, these stereotypes come into play. Parents sometimes go and pick a particular color depending on the child they're having, based on the sex of the child they're having. when a child is born, the moment they are born, the parents will start treating them in a different way. For an example, think about toys. If it's a boy child, there's a separate set of toys most probably the parents would give, and if it's a girl child, they will give them a different kind of toys. And from that childhood onwards, systematically we are creating these stereotypes to help grow women in a different way. For an example, the toys would be cooking sets, cutlery sets, dolls. So basically they are preparing a woman to be someone who would take care of their children, someone who would do the day-to-day household chores, someone who would be basically not having enough opportunities to go out in the world and access anything they'd like to do. But that's exactly how they would naturally treat a boy. And when they grow up, especially from the societies we come in, very conservative and traditional, when a girl reaches puberty, there'll be a new set of barriers coming into play. They are not allowed to go out. They are not allowed to go and speak to their friends. That actually reduces them in terms of getting a certain level of skills in terms of negotiation, in terms of leadership, in terms of communications. And we are, without knowing it properly, we are creating these barriers for women to actually grow as individuals to achieve their goals and dreams. And then when picking what they want to do in life in terms of decision making, in terms of what is their decision for them to study, what kind of education they'd like to have, what kind of employment they'd like to have. Again, there's these old sets of limitations coming into play. You are a woman, you are a girl, so this is the best education you can have. You can't really become an engineer, you can't be a doctor, or you can't be a pilot. Those are mostly for men because they are better leaders. They are good at doing those stuff. You are a woman, so this is the set of things you probably will be good at, so you should do those things. So unknowingly, we have all these systematic barriers, even within our families, even within individually within ourselves. We don't really hear parents telling their children, especially if they are men, not to do certain things. For an example, there's a lot of things parents would naturally tell their daughters not to do. For an example, don't go out at night. Don't travel alone in a street. Don't come home late, because they'll be like, you are not safe. But they are not saying they are not safe because the problem actually comes from men. And the parents also have an equal responsibility to tell their boy children not to do those things. But it's very rare you hear parents who tell their boys not to rape. Very rarely we hear parents telling their children or boys not to harass, not to take violence. So, obviously, and it's not even like unconscious, not something people do consciously. It's unconsciously, these stereotypes are embedded in our systems. When we grew up in those systems, and when we become parents, or when we become people who would look after our younger ones, we would basically use the same ways of addressing these issues unknowingly. And these stereotypes would pass from generation to generation unconsciously. So in my journey, after becoming a student social worker, another really eye-opening experience I got was when I started working for Family Planning Association Sri Lanka as a volunteer. And that had really been an eye-opener, a game changer in my career and in my professional work, because I was able to actually explore a lot of inequalities, particularly coming within the wider topic of sexual and reproductive health and rights. Sexual and reproductive health and rights actually affects men and women disproportionately. Most of the health, reproductive and sexual health related issues are faced by women. For an example, if you take teenage pregnancy, in a country like Sri Lanka with a decently good health system and widespread health service, still we have 35,000 to 40,000 teenage pregnancies annually. And the reason being is the fact that there's less access to quality information on sexual education, less access to information on how to use contraceptives, how to use family planning methods. and also having a certain level of discriminatory legal structure where women are not being able to access several services. If you look at HIV/AIDS in general, or even sexually transmitted infections, based on the UN AIDS statistics, which is the UN AIDS is the global organization working on the prevention of, or rather elimination of HIV and AIDS. Women are at higher risk of contracting HIV and dying of HIV and AIDS. If you take something like really personal, like a relationship, women have less power to negotiate with their partner or to do for many things. You know, sometimes their consent is not given enough. Consent is actually ignored in terms of maybe having a really physical relationship. Sometimes a woman might ask their partner to, if the partner is a male partner, to use protection, use a condom, or whether she can herself have any level of contraceptives. But most of the time she doesn't have the negotiation power, and the man would obviously make that decision. It's not the woman's decision to make, unfortunately. And in a case where the woman can't use any contraceptives and they engage in a physical relationship and the woman gets pregnant, then again, there are not enough opportunities for that woman to make an independent decision whether she wants to continue that pregnancy or not. She doesn't have enough support systems from the country, from her communities to, if she wants to continue with the pregnancy, those support systems are not available for her to raise that child on her own. And in fact, the societal and the cultural norms are that that woman would be blamed because she is pregnant out of wedlock. But the man who's engaged in the pregnancy is not to be blamed. It's only the woman's responsibility to take the blame and then look after the child, because she doesn't have enough legal and social decision-making opportunities to terminate the pregnancy if she wants to. So, I mean, I'm just trying to show how within a given particular topic like sexual and reproductive health and rights, how the effects are being sort of how people are being affected differently simply because of their sex or their gender. And if I share some more statistics coming from UN Women, and just like UN AIDS, UN Women is the international UN agency which is working on eliminating gender equality, eliminating gender inequalities and discrimination about women and girls. Right now, there are more than 1 in 3 women will experience violence in some form during her lifetime. Just think about it. More than 1 woman in every 3 women. So that's huge, right? And then there are legal protections against rape and domestic violence are being diluted or rolled back in some places. So actually, if you can actually look at the globe, the countries are becoming more sort of nationalistic, and there's a big push against changing their already established laws and policies. And most of that pushback is largely affected on the laws against women, and the new laws are actually restricting more women in terms of their own sexuality, their access to resources, and something simple like going to school, for an example. If you look at India, right now there's a big movement which is again stopping women who are menstruating from coming to school. Something simple as that. Women cannot access education because they are menstruating. So that's like really, really, we need to flag this, because we are living in a difficult situation right now, because the countries are actually going back and putting more laws and procedures in their countries which restricts women. And another interesting statistics is that rape within marriage, marital rape, if I may, continues to be legal in 34 countries around the world. 34 countries. Marriage is something like an institution where there has to be. So, I mean, I can go on giving you more and more statistics, but the reality is that we live in a very patriarchal society, and the social system. I mean, let me break down patriarchy, if I may. It's a societal system founded on inheritance through the male line. So basically, the decision makers, the designers of the society are men, and then that whole design actually excluded the fact that there's more than 51% of the world's population are women. And the most of these decisions, these structures are simply designed based on the fact that the men are default. And this default system, that patriarchy, is actually affecting every area of our lives. And there's this unquestioned assumption that men are the standard and women are the exception. If you are interested, there's this amazing writer called Caroline Perez who has done a lot of research about this concept called default man thinking, where we think that everything is standard, and if you only look at policies, programs, or systems, or even individual decisions from a male point of view, that is applicable for the whole population. That's the default man thinking. And I will sort of tell you some of the problems of the default man thinking, apart from what I've shared already. Women are at a higher risk of being injured in a car accident because the vehicle seats and the safety belts fit default man. So in the designing of a vehicle, the seats and the seat belts are designed thinking that all those seats, if we create those seats for a man, those seats and the seat belts would fit all the population. Second, another point, women have a higher fatality rate from heart attacks because the diagnostic tools are designed around the concept of, again, default man. So this is heart attacks is not something only specific for men. It's applicable for everyone, every member of the population. But some of these medical tools are designed in a way thinking that only thinking about men and completely ignoring the fact that the 51% of population are women, and they are also accessing these services. If you look at institutions in our country or in our region, you take ASEAN for an example, or SAARC in South Asia for an example, the budgets in our institutions, the policies in our institutions, the programs in our institutions are designed by most of the time by men, and thinking all those policies, programs, and the budgets are catering to only men. But we are not even thinking that there's another population in the country and they might get affected from these policies and their budgets in a different way, and that it's important for us to have an eye open in terms of designing these things, because a policy and a program is not just an individual thing, it's a national or regional thing which should basically affect a larger population. And we really need to put an extra effort to push these institutions, either whether they are companies at the private sector, whether they are national governments, or whether they are inter-regional or international or supranational, if I may, institutions at that level, that there has to be gender-sensitive thinking embedded in our planning and decision-making of our budgets, of our policies, in order for us to realize how these decisions we take at that institutional level would affect women in a different way, and actually how we can ensure the equal rights of women when these policies are actually being implemented. Just to share another example of my career, after working in Sri Lanka for some time, I moved to Thailand and I took up a regional consultancy, basically looking at countries around the Mekong River region, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and other surrounding countries. And my focus of my work was basically looking at sort of the institutional level policies with the private sector organization. So I had direct contacts with apparel industry and the trade unions working for those apparel industries. And something I realized after my consultancy was the fact that at an institutional level, how women who are working, women who are employed are being discriminated because of these institutional level policies and laws and programs. For an example, if you look at the apparel industry, women who are doing the same job as women are being paid less. They have the same qualification, they have the same skill set, but the salaries they get is different simply because they are women. And there are not enough laws in place within those institutions to protect sexual harassment taking place within the organization. There are not enough mechanisms or safe platforms for a woman to go and lodge a complaint when she faces the harassment, because sometimes a supervisor is a man and there's not enough sort of a mutual respect between the relationship for a woman to have that safe conversation, safe trusted conversation with the supervisor. Sometimes, unfortunately, the harasser itself is a man, and harasser itself is the supervisor. So then in cases like that, basically she either has to go through the harassment for a longer period of time, or she has to lose the job and go look for another employment. And when it comes to pregnancy, most of the time women are not being hired or recruited simply again because they are women. The companies are worried that if you hire a woman, she might get pregnant in the future, she'll go on maternity leave, and she won't be able to do her job properly. So instead of hiring a woman, they would hire a man. And a woman who's equally qualified, who has the equal qualifications, wouldn't be given the job opportunity simply because she's a woman. How unfortunate is that? And there's also less opportunities for career growth. If you perform well in your job, and if there's a man who's either performing as much as you or performing less than you, still in a promotion, that man would be most of the time would be picked over the woman simply because he's a man. And it was really alarming, to be honest, some of the sort of the data and the evidence coming from my work in the region. And obviously, if people are interested, you can follow the International Labour Organization's work on preventing sexual harassment, particularly in the South Asia and the Southeast Asia region. And the most surprising thing for me was the fact that the apparel industry is basically relying on women. All the people who are sewing the clothes, buttoning to cutting to basically engage in more than, I would say, half of the amount of the labor of the apparel industry are women. But it's so unfortunate that the organizational policies, the institutional policies are not to support those workers, the majority of their workforce, but rather actually discriminate them. And in a usual setting, we would feel that if the workers are, if the rights of the workers are discriminated, if their rights are violated, then there has to be a trade union. And the whole point of having a trade union is actually to negotiate with the owners of a company or an institution to have better working conditions for women. But the most surprising thing is the fact that the trade union leaders are also men. And you have a workforce which is more than majority of the workforce are women workers. But when it comes to the trade union, which is basically to represent the women who are working there, the trade union representatives are men. And when you actually dig deeper into this whole issue, it's not because there are no women with the leadership skills to actually lead the trade union. It's more of the default men concept because of the patriarchy, that in our heads we think that men are better leaders than women. So obviously in an election or whatever within the trade union situation, within that context, a man is appointed as a representative of the trade union instead of women, although the most of the voters are women themselves. So it's really unfortunate when it comes to that level of patriarchy actually affecting our minds. So I know that we have more time in the Q&A session in terms of how we can talk a little bit about toxic masculinities and how patriarchy itself is affecting men themselves. I'd love to talk about that as well. But since we have like two other interesting speakers, I think I'll have a conclusion here. But before concluding, I'd like to raise a few points. Globally, although we have all these issues, globally, we have a Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is being asserted the equal rights of men and women across the globe in any country. And we also have a legally binding document called the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination and violence against women, which is the shorter form is CEDAW. And it has outlined a greater vision for gender equality since the 1980s. And the most interesting it's not the most interesting sort of agreement across the country, although it's not very legally binding, is called the Beijing Platform for Action, which came into power in 1995. where heads of governments of all countries went to Beijing and had this conference where they agreed on this really progressive plan of action to ensure that gender equality will be achieved in their countries. But it's very unfortunate that since 1995, now we are in 2020, after almost 25 years, we are still struggling to achieve gender equality in our countries. We are not even close, to be honest. And in fact, in some instances, we have gone backwards. We have gone backwards than the situation we were in 1995. So that's why I'm saying this, it's actually an alarming condition, and it has to stop. And we can do that. As individuals, men can accept the privilege given to us through patriarchy and let go of the privilege. I think that's step one. And I think it also took me some time to do that. But I think it's really important for us as men to understand the privilege we have and then let go of that privilege. And that's very crucial. And on a larger scale, on a wider national scale, there needs to be a transformation of the balance of power, and which is very essential. And this is not because of human rights, or not just because of human rights, not just because of personal development, or not just because of health and well-being. It is important, and in fact, it is critical to solve some of these most damaging and intractable problems of our age, like conflict in different countries, within the countries and across the countries, climate change, income inequalities, and gender equality is actually the center stone for us to achieve some of these global problems. Only through equal participation of women, we can actually benefit from the intelligence, the experience, and the insights of all of humanity. And I must end in this note: women's equal participation is vital to stability. It will help us prevent conflict, and it will promote sustainable and inclusive development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Daksita. If I might say, it's quite refreshing to hear about how structural violence affects women come from a man. So it proves that the notions that about awareness for violence against women, it's not only about women's gender, it's actually everyone's gender, because we want to see more people like Brigitte, we want to see more women pursuing DPhil in one of the best university in the world. So we will continue to discuss about this, how to tackle this structural violence for women. Well, the third speaker, we have Aisha. If you're ready, you have 10 minutes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Aisha Hafiza. You can call me Echa for short. Actually, I want to respond to what Basma said before. Actually, I come from that kind of traditional family. Before I went to London, like my family tried to stop me and say that something like, you don't have to be that smart, because eventually you will get into home, you'll be like a mother, and a man will not like people who is too smart, things like that. And they want me just to stop pursuing my master's degree. So I really think that the attack from men is quite harsh in our society now. But yeah, you just have to be rebel and what you think best for you. Okay, so we'll start with my talk. So I started a business called Wakachao. It's a restaurant chain that serves a product called Indonesian beef pepper rice. You can Google it if you're interested. So I started this 3.5 years ago with my friends from university when we were 20 years old, as our dissertation project. So basically, if we wanted to graduate from our university or business school, we had to run a real business, and we met a report from Math as our dissertation, so we can graduate from school. It was such a pressure, but it's good. But my team and I were committed to build this business more than just a school project. We want this business to be our main job when we already graduate from university. So we tried our best for this past 3.5 years. And now we managed to open 30 branches in all over Indonesia. So we now have 350 employees, and we're really grateful for that. I think my biggest struggle happened at the beginning from our business. At that time, we had no experience except the knowledge that we got from our business school, which actually maybe only 20% of it can be applied to the real business case. We couldn't cook. We got all of the recipe from internet. We spent about 6 months to develop the recipe. We hired people for the very first time. We negotiate with landlord for the very first time. At that moment, people treat us like kids. We got scammed. We were having lots of trial and error, but it's still fine. And after the hard work, so many people didn't believe in this idea. They thought the products was not appealing enough. And at the very first few months, they were right. There were not so many people come to our stores, and we started to feel desperate, things like that. And it needs few months for people to know about our business. And at the same time, because we were still young and there were lots of pressure at that moment. So me and my team, we argued a lot, we fought a lot. And that's kind of a big struggle at the very beginning of the business. But we worked so hard, I could say. So for about 6 months, we work from very early morning until midnight every day with no weekend, and it paid off. It was really intense. Because we didn't give up, we continue marketing activities, we improve our products, we tried our best, it worked. After 3 months, the business became quite famous. So gradually in 3 years, it became bigger and bigger. It's about the business. And in terms of the women inequality, our main topic now, for me, to be honest, a part of my family inequality, could say. I never really see the difference of opportunity between men and women. Even though I heard few times from my lecture in UCL that female founder is harder to get funding from VC compared to male founder. But in my case, thank God, it was totally fine. I had no problem with gender issue until now. But I think I never experienced any gender inequality because of 2 reasons. The first one, because I'm lucky at a very good, maybe I'm now at a very good behavior environment in my school, because I don't know, people see women equally. My friends, my colleagues, they're all good people. Or 2, maybe I'm not really aware of it. And I think it's a good thing, because since I was a kid, I never really feel that woman is less than a man. And I never really thought even for a second that man is capable of doing things more than a woman. So I didn't really know, because I think that woman is equal to man. So maybe I'm not aware that actually this inequality happened, probably. And I think about it for quite some time when I was invited to this talk show. Maybe besides of the real inequality that happened in society, sometimes maybe the problem probably come from the woman mind itself. We thought that we were less than a man, and so we feel that we're less than a man without any man actually saying it to us. So it's our man actually, and this lack of confidence leads to incapability. So my message to all of the girls, I think never think that you're less than a man, or you have to behave like a man to be successful. Because you don't have to. Like, you can be successful in a woman's way, like in girl's way. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, what you have to do is to master some traits that make you become successful as entrepreneur, like discipline, like problem solving skill, leadership. And you have to bear in mind that all of the skill are not man's skill. Like that's entrepreneurial skills that man and woman needs to have to become an entrepreneur. So you don't have to be saying that you have to be masculine, you have to be stiff, you have to be angry all the time to lead something. You can be cute, you can still be pretty and lead like a big company. Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha, and to remind us that the value has to come from within as well. The last but definitely not the least, Basma, please entertain us for the next 10 minutes. I think your speaker is still on mute. Basma, I think your my
Now?
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Perfect. Right.
Marhaba, hello, my name is Basma Adouhi. I am a humanitarian and development practitioner, and now I am studying master degree, development and emergency practice. Thank you so much for this rewarding opportunity to share our experiences, and thank you for the Indonesian Embassy. Also, I want to say happy and very proud International Women's Day today and every day, and happy Mother's Day, because in my country and in a number of countries now we are celebrating today the International Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all of whom are listening to us. I want to start by a motto that I like a lot. If you believe in yourself, the world will be believing in you. I want to start by sharing a person who had impacted very positively on my personal perspective, my personal journey, and my professional journey. That this man is my father, is my dad, because he always teach me how to be a role model and how to inspire other people by actions. He never tell me what I should do or what I shouldn't be doing. He always show what I should be doing or what I shouldn't be doing by actions. He's very kind man. He always believed in me and in my sisters a lot. He believed in empowerment of women and especially his daughters. And he always like sacrificed a lot of things in order to push me to be my best. From my dad and from also my brothers, I believe the role of men in gender equality and in promoting and supporting women as well in their life, in their personal journeys and in their professional journeys. So my dad was a role model and was a real inspiration for me as a young daughter and then as a young woman, as a professional also woman. So he was the one, or he is always the one that really inspires me every day to be my best. I want to speak about the struggles that I faced during my personal journey and my also professional journey. Coming from a refugee background, I have always to challenge the norms around me and the stereotyping about women, that you can do this, you cannot do that, you can drive, you cannot drive, you can go to the university alone, you cannot speak alone, you cannot speak in public, you have to always to go with somebody to the supermarket, you cannot walk at night because you are a woman or you are a girl, and you have always all the time you have to challenge that kind of norms, that kind of judgment and stereotyping if you want to thrive, not only to be resilient in your community, but also to thrive in your community. So I find myself all the time, I should be defending myself or proving something to the others, which I quit from more than 15 years ago. But I find like me, myself, and a lot of girls in my community, we have always to prove ourselves, to defend ourselves, to challenge the norms, and to take the permission to do certain kind of very basic actions like driving a car or going alone at night or attending a party and all this stuff. The second point also, the second struggle was competition. That even in my professional career, I have always to find myself competing with men, and I have always to justify that I am qualified, and sometimes I am overqualified in order to get a certain kind of job, to get a promotion, and all this stuff. So, especially coming from also a refugee background, you find also as a woman, you find yourself all the time competing for a scholarship, competing for a job, competing for a promotion, and all this stuff, which sometimes is very positive, because at the end of the day you are building your skills, but also it's very negative because you feel that kind of discrimination in laws and in practice against you as a woman and against you as also a refugee as well. So these were my main struggles in personal journey and in also professional career. Our journey as a women, in my point of view or my opinion, it's very different from men, because we do have a lot of challenges, we do have a lot of norms, and we do have a lot of stereotypes that we have to overcome, and we have to challenge them every day. I do believe that personal stories are very different. My story is very different from any other story in this world, but I also believe that women can do a lot, and they have a lot to show, they have a lot to prove in a society that at this moment don't believe in the equality as well in many aspects, as my colleagues have mentioned a lot. So I do believe that women journeys are different but very inspiring as well, and they teach us really the role modeling and how to be a role model in a community where you are restricted at every level or discriminated at every level, but you have to be resilient and you have to thrive. So they are teaching us that kind of leadership, which is very also the humility as well, the lesson of a humility. If I want to share how's my progress is very important for the women in Indonesia. I am a humanitarian and development practitioner. I am a woman among different women in this sector, in the humanitarian action. To be a woman who is serving in conflict zones and working with vulnerable people is not an easy job at all. First of all, you should have passion, and you should have cause in order to be able to be resilient in this sector, because what we need as a woman, or what I find as a woman working in the sector, is that we need a lot of resilience. Not all the women are resilient in this sector, and sometimes I find that women and myself, we need to go beyond resilience. We have to thrive in this sector, and we do have a lot of challenges that we have to overcome in order to be able to thrive, not only resilient. But for the women in Indonesia, I want to say that my experience as a practitioner, a humanitarian practitioner, refugee, supporting refugees, working in conflict zone, challenging every day the stereotyping. If you have passion, if you have cause in humanity, if you want to support people, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe that you can be an inspiration to people. And what my career have taught me, that changing one life is changing a world, which is very inspirational. So every support that you are providing for people can, especially for women, because I worked a lot with women and girls, every support, every every kind of emotional support or material support or any kind of support to women and girls can be really changing their lives and the perceptions about them, and also their own personal beliefs. So the one lesson that I am very grateful that I am working in this sector, that alhamdulillah during my all 10 years I have changed a lot of the lives of women and girls. And I believe that this is very important in this life and in this world, to be able to inspire people, to be able to empower people, to be able to acknowledge that people also have power, and to be able also to help people not only to be resilient but to thrive. So for women in Indonesia, you can be humanitarian practitioner or you can be development practitioner, but you have to be resilient. You have to learn resilient. You have to learn to have passion and to have a very deep cause in what you are doing, because you will face challenges and struggles everywhere at every minute, but you have to be powerful and you have to believe that you are doing the best that you have in order to support other people. And my message finally for the women, believe in yourself, be humble, really, believe in yourself, believe in your abilities, believe in your skills, because if you believe in yourself, the world will be believing in you. And believe me, this is from a very personal story. Never ever allow somebody just to say that you cannot, or you shouldn't, or you don't have to do this. Always prove to yourself, not to other people, that you have to be the best version of yourself every day. Be a role model, because role modeling is really a gap in our day. So, and it's not an easy job. So be a role model by your morals, by your beliefs, and by your actions. We need actions. We need to be very kind, but we need to be very strong as well. So believe in yourself, inspire people by actions, by humility, and by self-confidence. And we can, and also please listen very carefully to my last message. We rise because we lift others. So women have also to support each other, and we have to stop competing each other. We have to stand with each other, because together, collectively, we can do a lot. So this is my message, and thank you so much for this time.
Thank you so much, Basma. The last message was so beautiful, that women has to stand with each other, but we would like to invite men to stand with us for our rights in this case. Well, we have a couple of burning questions in our tabs at the moment, but since I'm privileged as the moderator, I have the first questions on my hand. Well, my first questions would goes to Brigitte. As women in STEM sector, have you ever faced with discriminations in this field? And then why do you think that it's quite hard for women to penetrate the industry of STEM?
I think I'm similar to Echa. I'm quite lucky. So far, I haven't faced any discrimination, even though most of the time I'm the only woman in the team. And to answer your second question about why I think it's harder for women to penetrate the STEM sector, some people might think that naturally boys are better at STEM subjects than girls, but research actually shows it's not true. Basically, boys and girls, they have on average much more similar than they are different across a range of skills. So from my personal experience and observations, especially during my outreach events or outreach activities with the university, I found that this problem is due to social belongingness. So basically at teenage stage, or teenagers, basically they felt they would fit in better in subjects that had more of their own gender. And then I think the other problems why it's harder for women to penetrate STEM sector is gender stereotypes, and like Basma said as well, lack of role models. Even now, I still hear a lot of people associating STEM, especially engineering in my case, with men. Some parents would say that they don't want their daughters to actually be an engineer because they are men's jobs. On screen as well, like in movies, engineers, scientists, and mathematicians are largely played by men, with 7 times more male STEM roles in movies than female roles. I think the situation moves off the screen and influence everyday perceptions of gender roles as well. So yeah, I think there are a lot of things that kind of like make it harder for women to penetrate to the STEM sector. But I think like having someone that you can look up to or role models definitely will help a lot. Because in my case, I was looking up to my father, an engineer, and that's what inspired me. So I think kind of like increasing the media coverage on achievements of women in STEM from any levels, also increasing visits to primary and high schools by women in STEM as part of the inspirational class to reduce the gender roles assumptions would be good, kind of like good agenda to reduce the basically to increase the number of women in STEM sector. And also I feel like if more women and men come up and be mentors and sponsors for women in STEM, then it would be easier for women to penetrate the STEM sector.
Thank you, Brigitte. It's actually led us to the question raised by Saskia. Well,
Yeah.
she asked about the necessity of having mentor and sponsor, and if you can clarify more about that.
So basically, as I mentioned before, a mentor is someone who can give advice to the mentee, and then a sponsor is someone who kind of like advocate and then encourage, and then kind of like help you to proceed further in your career. Based on my personal experience, it is actually much easier when you have both mentor and sponsor to help you kind of like move upwards. But then I feel like not everyone is as lucky as I am to actually have mentor and sponsors. So I think it's kind of like, it's good if we have mentor and sponsors who can help us with our careers. But then I think, as Dakshita also said, that in most cases, not all women are lucky, and then even the basic necessities they don't have. So I think in here, I'm quite conflicted after hearing Dakshita's points on which one we should focus more now. Actually, is it like giving mentors and sponsors to women to pursue their careers, or actually kind of like providing more and educate both women and men more about the basic necessities of women now?
Thank you, Brigitte. It was a really smooth segue for me to continue to Dakshita, because Dakshita has the questions on the floor for him. The question is, gender equality is not something that we learn since early age, and often taught as a Western concept, especially in Asia and South Asia. So what's your opinion regarding this?
Yeah, thank you so much, Vicky. I mean, just to address what Brigitte was saying, I think it's not a mutually exclusive situation where we only we either talk about mentorship, or we only talk about teaching men at a younger age to learn about breaking stereotypes. I think we have to do both. It's not an either-or situation. I think we have to do both. In fact, we have to do a lot more. We need a lot of coordinated mechanisms at different layers in our societies to actually address this. And even before addressing this, how to actually learn about it. Just like the question you asked, Vicky, I think the conversation about gender equality and equality in general is a conversation which needs to happen at a very young age. And unfortunately, in some of the societies or the communities we come from, it doesn't really happen. And I think it's those cultural norms are the ones which are basically labeling the conversation about gender equality as a Western concept. Because in fact, it's not a Western concept. I think it's a concept which has been there in our countries as well for centuries long. There are so many evidence and stories about matriarchal societies in our region, and also in the African region, which is another developing region where the women were at the leadership, and women were the ones who were fighting the wars. Back then, they're the ones who were basically sort of bringing food and nutrition for their tribes and their groups. So historically, there are enough evidence, not just in the Europe or in the US or the developed countries. There are evidence from our countries as well. In fact, having this conversation at a very young age would create more benefits for developing countries like us. For an example, women, if you look at the women's workforce, women, for every, I think if the evidence is correct, for every dollar a man would get by doing a job, a woman would get only 77 cents. And in order for that to come to parity, gender parity in terms of earning income, it will, I think they have made a calculation based on the current level, it will take at least another 200 years for that to happen, for a woman to earn as equal as a man. because we live in systems where, you know, there's systematic discrimination in terms of equal access to resources. So I think we need to start at a very young age. I think it's a conversation we need to have with the families. You know, I myself as a brother, a son, a friend, and a husband, you know, it's my responsibility to think about, you know, as I said before, the privilege I have as a man, and then let go of that privilege and create a supportive environment where the women in my life, in my family unit, in my you know, external relatives, to have equal opportunities, to have equal decision-making powers, you know, to learn how not to mansplain. You know, that's a really big thing, because men are usually, you know, they think that, you know, they have the final say, and they would listen to a woman, but they would end the conversation in the way they like. You know, something simple like that. You know, learn not to mansplain, learn how to listen to properly, listen to someone properly, and give them enough opportunities. um, and at an institutional level, if you look at schools, you know, I am a big advocate on comprehensive sexuality education. And I think comprehensive sexuality education in schools will actually help children going to schools to learn about diversity, learn about respecting diversity, learn about gender equality, help them sort of grow a sense of empowerment within themselves, especially for young girls. So I think that's a really important avenue for us to advocate for, lobby for in our countries, if we can do that, to work with the ministries of education and the ministries of health to have proper comprehensive sexuality education, proper relationship education in our schools, so that all the students who are going to a school at a very young stage will be able to expose to these, you know, concepts of gender and equality.
Thank you, Daxita. Well, talking about this advocating and everything, we have two speakers here, Aisha and Basma, that grew up with a very feminist father, if I can say so. Can we hear this? How that your father built your confidence? Let's start from Basma.
Yeah, my father built my confidence by giving me the self-determination, if I want to say, and free decision making. So I was able to take the decisions that I want. طبعا for sure sometimes I consult with him, I consult with my family, but at the end of the day I was aware that I am responsible of my decisions. I am the one that is accountable and taking decisions fully without any interference or any intervention, or no, we believe that this is wrong for you or right for you. Also, he gave me the opportunity to continue my education, which is a key here. Education and sharing information helps a lot women and young girls to be able to fully aware and also fully taking decisions that impact their life and the way they want also to contribute to the community. So he believed in the importance of education, and he supported me and my sisters in order to have our fully education without any kind of limitations. Also, he believed in us, and this is very important. I consider the best gift that anybody or any human can be giving to any other human is the belief in him or in herself or on themselves. So he was able to show that he's believing in us every time, anywhere, in any occasion. And he, as I mentioned before, he really challenged me to be really a role model also for my colleagues, especially for women in my sector. He was all the time a role model. He wanted to show to me that by actions, it's not only being strong just as a word or be kind as a word. He showed this by actions every time, and I have learned this from him. If I want to be a strong woman, I have to show this by actions. If I want to be a kind, I have to show this by actions. And at the end of the day, I have to be a role model for other people and to inspiring people by actions, by not like speaking. So and also he challenged me to consider the role of men, because all the time we speak women should be supporting women should be encouraging women, but we tend to forget that men also have a very important role in our resilience and our thriving as women in the community and as young girls. And he showed this for me, that if we want really empowerment, if we want really gender equality in this community, we have also to acknowledge that we do have men who also have the power, who have also the privilege, all the skills, the abilities, the intention, the passion as well, to support women and young girls. And we have to acknowledge this, and we have to work with men in order to have a very supportive community. So her showed me this by actions, by letting my brothers also supporting me. So I do believe the role of family is very important, especially for women and young girls. And the role of fathers is very important, very crucial for our personal journey and for professional journeys as well. So this is the role that my father supported me, and my perceptions about how I should be also a role model in my life, not personally, but also helping my colleagues and my friends in the sector that I am working in as well. And
Uh,
also, if I want to add, not only my father, all the men, I want to acknowledge the supportive men, the supportive colleagues, the supportive employers, the supportive supervisors that I have, that were also my mentors many times. So they were very supportive as well. And they showed me that supportive environment is very crucial for women in workplace and in family as well. Because women cannot be resilient and cannot go beyond resilience, cannot be thrive really in a workspace or in a family if she's not supportive, or if we don't have a supportive environment. And this is why we should acknowledge that we have to work together, women and men, in order to ensure gender equality and the empowerment of not only women, but also men as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Basma. Speaking about the role of family, I have a questions also for Aisha. Taking into account your family background, your cultural background, which still inherently very traditional, how that this situation affect you growing up, and then how this affect your decision as how you lead your business as a woman. Your microphone is still on mute.
Oh,
All right, thank you.
okay. Actually, my dad is kind of confusing. He's traditional, but he's also supportive and try to make me a very brave girl since I was a kid. So basically, I got these traits. I got my personality from my dad. Since I was a kid, he tried to make me stand on the stage, saying, and try to do public speaking in front of everybody. He really encouraged me to be confident and brave. And I really remember the moment when there was a girl that pinched me at class, and I was crying. And when I went back home, and then he told me like to pinch her back like really hard tomorrow. So from that moment I know that and from that moment I know that I have to be brave to win this world. And from that moment I become brave. But when I'm growing up and I got the confidence inside me, my dad started to like being more protective. I probably say that, yeah, protective, and try to bring like religious matter to like control the way I live. Sometimes I agree with what he said, but sometimes I didn't. And actually, it really affect me and my business. Sometimes I will be very sad and I was very angry, but the good thing, I still be able to talk to him and try to fix things out. And he still wanna learn and still wanna listen to what I've said. Yeah, yeah. But generally it's still bad. We still need to fix this problem. And I think not so many people get through the same thing with me.
Okay, problem in this case would be this stigma and value that's so embedded that woman is less than women, which lead me to the next question that raised by Anissa. The question is for Daksita. In some cases where gender inequality is heavily structural and systemized, policy change often driven through incremental program designed by NGO or IGO. But most of the time, or oftentimes, these entities don't take into account the local context and instead discount local people perspective. In this case, how to best avoid donor-driven program?
Right, I think it's a very important question. Thank you, Anissa, for raising that question. And in fact, Anissa is my classmate at the university, so we often have these conversations in our seminars about public policies and how some of the public policies at the international level affect the grassroots level communities. And I think the question itself actually goes beyond gender equality because sometimes some of the policies, sort of conceptualized and designed outside the country would not necessarily sort of engage the context within a particular country. So, in every country is very unique. Even in a country, the geographical regions are unique. There are income inequalities and disparities across the regions. If you look at a country like Indonesia, for an example, it's a geographically massive country, right? And then how many, the number of languages you have, the number of people coming from different backgrounds and tribes, and so many things. So it's very important for any program or a policy designed to serve a particular community. It's extremely important to sort of consult that community and use a bottom-up approach in terms of designing and developing these programs. And that's where we can actually think about gender, because when you engage communities to for a consultation or a workshop, or even collecting data to create evidence to support a particular policy or a program, we have to be very careful and conscious of the fact that we need to engage the both genders, if not even the other genders like the trans people and the third genders as well, because these policies and programs, as I said before, affect them disproportionately, and it's very important for us to hear from all members of a particular community or a particular country to know their views and how they think about a particular policy or a program in terms of affecting them. And so that's why it's important to bring something I have tried doing, at least in Sri Lanka, is that whenever we do like a national level consultation, we make sure that there are women's rights groups, there are feminist groups, there are LGBT groups, groups who are representing disabled communities, groups from the ethnic minorities are actually also present at the discussion table, because often at the national level discussion table, it usually is dominated by men, and there has to be a mechanism where at least the people who are organizing that are conscious of the fact that we need to engage more women into the table. Then we have to give them equal participation and equal voice at the policy and the program level to have a bigger say in terms of influencing the policies and programs. And we as either technocrats or policymakers or civil society development practitioners have an important role to play, because most of the developing countries still are heavily relied on the funding and the money coming from the outside world. And we as people from that, at least from that country or at least from that region, have a responsibility, irrespective of the donor requirements, to make sure that we engage the grassroots level communities in an equal manner, especially giving enough opportunities, participation, and voice for women and young girls to take part in these consultations and workshops, so that they'll be able to design these policies in a way which they think would affect them better.
Okay, thank you, Daksita. About policy, we have questions from Benny Adam. The question is actually for Brigitta. Do you think our government have done their best in promoting gender equality, especially for women in your field?
Thank you for the question. To be honest, I'm not really sure if I can answer this question with the right facts or not, because like I myself kind of like didn't do my career in Indonesia, and I think I haven't spent I spent the last 7 years of my life here. But as far as I know, I don't think there is any kind of like any policy that I read on the newspaper at least, or I hear like on the television from our government about promoting gender equalities in STEM. But then like not too long ago, probably 2 years ago, I attended ISIC from PPI UK, an event where there is one kind of like leading scientist from Indonesia, from LIPI. Oh, sorry, from BPPT actually. And she came here to talk about her research. And then like I was asking her questions about whether or not in the kind of like in government institution, she feels like there is a gender disparity. And her answer was like, she didn't feel like there is any, but I don't think the government is doing anything actively either in kind of like promoting the gender equality. But I'm not sure about the other sectors, because like I haven't talked to any other people about any other sectors. But personally, I feel like I haven't heard or I haven't saw any real policy on this to promote gender equality in STEM in Indonesia.
Thank you, Brigitte. There is a questions for Basma as well about women in peace building. In your opinion, what's the biggest role of women in peace building effort and during your course of career as well? Your Basma, your microphone is still on mute.
Just a minute.
Okay.
Now?
Yep.
No, sorry for that. I was saying that actually I consider that they have a very important and crucial role, especially in conflict zone areas and in reconstruction also stages. I believe that women should be at the beginning, at the center of the intervention and at the center of decision making, especially in peace building, because they are not only, they are like sisters, they are mothers, they are community members, they are teachers, they are everywhere, and we do need their power and also their different style of leadership, the emotional style of leadership, in order to have it in the peace building of effort and the reconstruction effort. But at the end of the day, it's a long process, I consider, especially in a conflict zones where women also are facing a lot of discrimination, a lot of sexual and gender-based violence, a lot of gender inequality. We have to acknowledge and we have to ensure a supportive environment, really, and a very safe environment for women in order to thrive and in order to continue on their peace building. But my red line is to acknowledge that women have a role in peace building efforts, especially in conflict zone areas. Empower them by skills, by knowledge, because knowledge is very important, also skills, and empower them to use their abilities inside their communities and inside their families, their communities, and at a national level. And also acknowledge them to have a voice, because at the end of the day, I always find myself, I am a voice of the voiceless, you got my point. So I feel that a lot of women have a lot of power to change their circumstances and to change even in the conflict areas where they are living. They are contributing a lot. They are doing community support women groups. They are building, for example, community safe centers. They are contributing to have like safe groups for women and girls to go to the universities or to go to the schools. So they do a lot of very small scale initiatives at the level of building the peace in their communities, but they are very voiceless because these women need somebody not only to empower them, but to acknowledge the efforts and to try to help them to be really to have a voice and to share their knowledge and their experiences with others. So what we have a role here as a me as a humanitarian and development practitioner, and all of us should be doing this, is empowering women to have voice and to share knowledge and to share experiences with others and to build that kind of supportive and safe environment to have small scale initiatives and also national initiatives, because they can do a lot. Like coming from working in Syria and working in Lebanon, I can see how powerful they can in changing the perceptions and bringing communities together and building social cohesion and showing solidarity. But also they do need the opportunities and the right channels in order to empower them and to share the experiences. But I do believe that we should focus on them and put them at the center of decision making in order to be able to thrive, not for us to just to decide on them and say, okay, they have a role in peace building, but without any actual support for them. So this is from my experience. They can do a lot, and they have the passion and they have the knowledge to do a lot in their communities, but they need empowerment and they need spaces, they need opportunities. That's it for really for the women and for the girls coming from a conflict zone areas and working directly with them. I can say that they have a lot to contribute, but we do need to ensure supportive environment for them, which is unfortunately not available in most of the conflict zone areas that I have been working with. But even though they are doing a lot.
Okay, well, we have 3 minutes left. I will give each one of you probably 1 until 2 minutes to give your final thoughts, your final reflections about the futures of women against bias, how trajectory in the future, how do we can tackle this in the future. We can start with Brigitta.
Actually, instead of me answering the question in 2 or 3 minutes, can I show you an interesting video? Because like I wanted to show the video. I think it was a very powerful video when I saw it first time a few months ago. So I think I'll open the video. So I'll share my screen.
This afternoon, we're going to draw people doing different jobs. And the first job we're going to draw is firefighter.
Have a think in your head what a firefighter looks like.
What's your firefighter called?
Mine's called Firefighter Gary. Firefighter Stan. Firefighter Simon.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Next, we're going to draw a surgeon. Have you thought of a name for your surgeon?
Jimbo.
Jimbo.
He's a brain surgeon. I think he would nurse. He gives you medicine.
That sounds ambulance. Okay, next, I'm going to draw a fighter pilot.
This is his gameplay. You rescue people. You rescue characters.
Okay, now who would like to meet these people for real? My name's Tamsin and I'm a surgeon in the NHS.
My name's Lauren and I'm a pilot in the Royal Air Force.
My name's Lucy, I'm a firefighter in the London Fire Brigade. Who wants to know how to do an operation? I've got my stethoscope.
Put this in here.
There you go.
No proper fighter pilots.
Take into your ears. Can you hear that? It's really good. Yeah, it's much better than the kids' one.
I don't know whether you can hear the sound or not, but I think the message from this video is that gender stereotypes was formed from early age. So I definitely agree with Dakshita that we need to change that from early on.
Which give a segue for Daksita.
Yeah, so I'll try and keep it short and sweet. I think for us as men and also as humans, it's time to stop trying to change women, but rather start changing the systems that prevent them from achieving their fullest potential. Because the world which is at today has greater challenges from climate change, global viruses right now. So I think it's really important for us to work towards that as equals. And if we don't have gender equality in this world, it would be very difficult for us to move forward and improve our countries and actually survive in this planet. So we have to start right now, and we have to start with ourselves. So take that step and go and try change the world.
Thank you, Daksita. Next one is Aisha. Your microphone is on mute. Yeah, okay.
Okay. I'm very optimistic this problem will solve anytime, I don't know, sooner or later, because we're already aware of this problem and we know how to do it, even though we don't know how to do it, like when or exactly when we can do it. But at least we know this problem, and we have this conversation like now, like today. So I'm optimistic it's gonna be better soon. Yeah, that's my message. That's it.
Thank you, Aisha. And then we give the floor for Basma.
Yeah, my final message will be if you want to change the world, start by changing your perceptions and yourself. Be a role model by actions, because people will be learning by your actions, but not by your talks. And believe in yourself at the end of the day, as a man or as a woman, believe in yourself.
Thank you, Basma.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of our esteemed speakers for highlight today's that awareness against women's bias, the importance of supportive environment, the imminent gradual shift for policy reform as well, that not very patriarchal, hopefully in the future. And then hopefully that you can be a mentor and sponsor for every woman in the world to advocate their dreams and rights. For the audience that join us today, that we will have COVID-19 and travel advice Q&A sessions in 5 minutes or so. So if you want to stay, you can stay. But before that, before I close the sessions, thank you very much for all the speakers. Hopefully we will have another sessions, or hopefully face-to-face. So we can entertain and exercise all of these questions that I have on my tab that unfortunately that I can drop on the floor because we have a very limited time today. But thank you very much. Stay healthy and keep your spirit up in your quarantine. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Vix.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, we have Vida and Atika from Unit Kesehatan PPI.
Halo. Halo, saya Vida.
Okay, maybe we can talk in Indonesian or you prefer in English?
Kayaknya Indonesia aja deh kemarin.
Okay.
Saya Indonesia ya.
Oke. Atika, speakernya bisa di-unmute? Oke. Halo?
Halo?
Ya.
Udah denger ya?
Udah. Oke. Kita langsung masuk aja ya ke pertanyaan pertama. Ada dari @evirus. Pertanyaannya adalah bagaimana pandangan terhadap kebijakan herd immunity di UK? How about the situation in the UK? Akan dijawab oleh Mbak Vida, silakan.
Terima kasih banyak Unga atas waktunya. Di kesempatan ini saya ingin menyapa teman-teman yang ada di UK dulu, teman-teman pelajar Indonesia yang ada di UK. Semoga dalam keadaan sehat walafiat.
Amin.
Semoga masih selalu diberi kesehatan dan kebahagiaan di tengah masa-masa karantina ini.
Amin, amin.
Terus untuk menjawab pertanyaan yang pertama, pandangan terhadap kebijakan herd immunity di UK dan tentang situasi di UK seperti apa. Tentang herd immunity, sebenarnya Perdana Menteri Inggris sendiri sudah memperbarui kebijakannya. Jadi kita diharapkan selalu mematuhi aturan-aturan dari pemerintah UK karena kita sekarang lagi stay di UK. Pemerintah UK sendiri selalu mengupdate langkah-langkah apa yang diambil untuk mengurangi penyebaran virus corona berdasarkan data yang dimiliki oleh pemerintah saat ini. Nah, kemudian kebijakan yang saat ini diterapkan oleh pemerintah UK untuk memperlambat penyebaran virus corona ini diantaranya adalah meminta masyarakat untuk tetap tinggal di rumah, stay at home. Kalau di Indonesia, di rumah aja, hashtag. Terus kemudian menutup sekolah juga, kemudian menutup universitas, meskipun ada beberapa universitas yang fasilitasnya masih bisa digunakan, seperti asrama di kampus. Kemudian pemerintah UK juga sudah mulai menutup pub, teater, kemudian restoran, tapi restoran ini ada beberapa yang masih buka, tapi hanya bisa melayani delivery. Kemudian juga sudah melarang pertemuan yang mengumpulkan banyak orang di satu tempat, membatalkan event olahraga, dan juga memberikan kebijakan untuk work from home, sama kayak di Indonesia juga, terutama untuk pekerjaan-pekerjaan yang non-esensial. Akan tetapi yang perlu kita ingat juga adalah kebijakan ini sangat-sangat dinamis, tergantung kondisi ke depannya seperti apa. Mungkin yang saat ini diperbolehkan, ke depannya tidak boleh, atau akan dicabut, atau seperti apa, itu kita wajib aware tentang kebijakannya yang diberikan oleh pemerintah UK. Gitu sih, Mbak.
Oke. Kita lanjut ke pertanyaan kedua. Untuk yang menjawab nanti Tika ya?
Iya.
Pertanyaannya adalah, how severe it would be before we need to evacuate the country? Saran KBRI lebih baik kita stay atau pulang ke Indo?
Iya, oke. Jadi sebelumnya terima kasih kepada PPI UK telah memberikan kesempatan untuk sesi tanya jawab ini, karena saya yakin pasti semua mahasiswa, nggak hanya yang di UK aja, di seluruh belahan dunia pasti panik. Tapi kita berusaha sebisa mungkin dan semaksimal mungkin biar menjembatani sebagai apa ya istilahnya, untuk support teman-teman semua pelajar di sini. Oke, jadi yang pertama tadi berkaitan dengan jadi untuk yang memang ini sangat dilematis untuk saat ini, apakah kita harus stay di UK atau kita pulang. Nah, ini semua kembali lagi ke individu masing-masing, dan kita harus banyak mempertimbangkan 3 hal yang penting yang saya highlight di sini. Yang pertama adalah dari saran dari kampus. Apakah kampus khususnya departemen, bagaimana departemen menyarankan mahasiswa internasionalnya, apakah stay di UK atau untuk leave the country soon. Nah, tapi di UK sendiri ini, most of the university advise the students to return home as soon as possible, karena dikhawatirkan, seperti yang sudah Mbak Vida tadi bilang, kalau kebijakannya ini masih sangat situasional dan dinamis, jadi kita nggak akan tahu ke depannya apakah ada travel ban atau close border. Jadi kita perlu mempertimbangkan itu. Jadi kalau bagi teman-teman yang memang sudah yakin ingin pulang, tidak apa-apa untuk pulang. Nah, yang kedua adalah kita harus izin dulu ke supervisor. Jadi di sini untuk yang mahasiswa master, di UK kan ada 2 skema ya, untuk coursework dan research. Nah, untuk coursework, di mana master yang untuk MSc yang dia menjalani coursework ini, sejauh yang kita amati, kelas-kelasnya sudah ditransfer ke online semua, dari term ini sampai nanti akhir September. Nah, untuk coursework, jika memang ada disertasi di 3 bulan terakhir, itu tolong didiskusikan dengan lab project-nya. Apakah tetap feasible untuk melakukan research lab-nya, atau berupa field work, atau kalau misalnya coursework dan ada exam, apakah ujiannya bisa diselenggarakan online atau tidak. Namun sejauh yang dari kita tahu dan pengalaman dari teman-teman di UK, semuanya baik exam maupun kelas sudah ditransfer ke online semua. Jadi kalau misalnya dari universitas sudah online, kalau memang teman-teman ingin kembali ke Indonesia, sejauh di Indonesia juga masih ada internet kan. Jadi ya masih bisa visible lah buat teman-teman semua. Nah, yang agak mengkhawatirkan juga sebenarnya untuk yang PhD atau yang Master by Research, di mana saat ini semua data collection, research di stop, baik di lab yang non-NHS maupun yang NHS, dan pemerintah UK memang sedang memprioritaskan lab-lab ini untuk penelitian yang berkaitan dengan coronavirus.
Nah,
Jadi teman-teman yang untuk PhD saya paham sekali, pasti khawatir berubah timeline-nya, berubah berkaitan dengan data apalagi, dan itu bukan cuman kalian sendiri, tetapi memang semuanya saat ini yang di UK sedang mengalami hal yang serupa. Jadi nggak usah khawatir, dan mungkin ini adalah saat yang terbaik buat teman-teman misalnya change. Jadi misalnya untuk data collection sekarang saatnya untuk writing, atau mungkin melakukan hal-hal lain yang di luar berkaitan dengan research ini. Jadi berkaitan dengan data collection di research ini. Jadi teman-teman nggak usah khawatir. Semuanya juga mengalami hal yang serupa. Dan kebijakan ini kembali lagi tergantung dengan supervisor. Jadi saya sarankan untuk teman-teman untuk selalu komunikasi dengan supervisor. Dan jangan lupa record kondisi ini di research log, karena berkaitan nanti dengan laporan di pihak imigrasi, tier 4 visa-nya, dan juga untuk segera mencari support dari tim IT di universitas masing-masing, karena sudah ada program working remotely dengan Zoom, Microsoft Teams, dan lain-lainnya untuk mensupport meeting yang harus diadakan dengan supervisor. Dan yang ketiga, selain departemen serta juga research dan supervisor, yang ketiga adalah sponsorship. Pastikan lagi apakah beasiswa teman-teman semua untuk studi di sini mendukung, bisa mensupport di saat seperti ini atau tidak. Sejauh yang saya tahu bahwa LPDP masih memberikan kebebasan untuk student-nya tetap stay di sini, asalkan dengan berbagai pertimbangan dengan supervisor dan juga berkaitan dengan dari departemen. Jadi nggak usah khawatir untuk hal itu. Dan yang terakhir juga support system itu yang sangat penting. Jika memang kalian di sini sendiri, PPI UK di bawah kepemimpinannya Mbak Vida ini, tim kesehatannya sangat welcome terhadap semua masalah yang teman-teman hadapi, karena kan sangat stressful sekali ya, kayak working remotely sendirian di kamar. Jadi jangan sungkan-sungkan untuk cari support dari sesama teman Indonesia dan PPI UK juga. Nah, kalau memang teman-teman pengen balik ke Indo, karena khawatir dengan keluarga, atau mungkin di sini sudah online dan tidak ada yang bisa dilakukan lagi, mungkin pertimbangan teman-teman seperti itu, ini adalah step-stepnya. Yang pertama, lapor kampus. Biasanya kampus akan mengirim link untuk student-nya yang kembali for good ke Indonesia untuk yang master dan juga untuk yang PhD. Namun yang perlu diketahui adalah jika sekalinya kita pulang, universitas belum yakin karena ini sangat situasional, apakah nantinya kita bisa masuk lagi ke UK atau tidak. Jadi itu adalah salah satu yang perlu dipertimbangkan teman-teman sebelum pulang ke Indonesia. Dan yang kedua, lapor ke KBRI. Nanti Mbak Vida akan share link prosedurnya, apa saja yang harus dilaporkan untuk di KBRI, dan bagaimana cara pelaporannya, karena itu bisa online. Dan yang selanjutnya adalah pastikan flight ke Indonesia masih jalan, maksudnya masih bisa membawa teman-teman semua ke Indonesia, dan tidak disuspend, dan pastikan juga negara tempat transitnya. Hal ini bisa kita lakukan dengan call centernya, dan atau cek langsung email ke flight terkait. Nah, yang selanjutnya yang perlu dipertimbangkan karena ini sangat situasional dan kita tidak tahu nantinya akan gimana, boleh balik lagi ke UK atau enggak dari pihak imigrasinya. Jadi pastikan selesai semua kontrak sewa kamarnya. Jadi buat teman-teman di sini yang punya landlord atau agen, didiskusikan dulu sebelum pulang, karena nggak akan tahu ke depannya akan seperti apa. Dan kalau misalnya yang tinggal di student accommodation, juga jangan lupa diskusi, karena setahu saya mereka juga punya ada flexibility, karena ini sangat situational dan emergency, jadi nggak usah khawatir. Dan yang selanjutnya, ini beberapa hari yang lalu Kementerian Luar Negeri juga baru saja membuka ada press conference bahwa intinya untuk setiap warga negara Indonesia tetap bisa masuk ke Indonesia. Yang nggak bisa masuk tuh warga negara asing yang tidak berkepentingan atau tidak ada urgency. Jadi pintu Indonesia selalu terbuka untuk teman-teman yang memang ingin sekali pulang, ingin kembali ke Indonesia dan ingin bertemu dengan keluarga. Jadi nggak usah khawatir. Dan apa yang terjadi ketika nanti di airport di Indonesia? Nah, jadi nanti waktu di pesawat, teman-teman akan diminta untuk mengisi kayak kartu kuning, isinya tentang kondisi kesehatan teman-teman saat ini. Nah, itu tolong diisi dengan jujur. Dan nanti di airport di Indonesia, tim kesehatan airport dan juga imigrasi akan menentukan apakah teman-teman ini perlu diobservasi atau tidak. Jadi kalau misalnya di border ditemukan gejala coronavirus, teman-teman akan diobservasi selama 14 hari di fasilitas kesehatan di Indonesia. Namun, jika misalnya tidak ditemukan gejala, teman-teman semua diharapkan tetap melakukan karantina mandiri di rumah masing-masing selama 14 hari. Jadi, setelah itu kebijakannya tergantung lagi dengan pemerintah Indonesia seperti apa, karena ini sangat situasional dan masih berubah-ubah. Jadi itu yang untuk yang bisa saya sampaikan. Dan jika teman-teman memang ingin stay, jangan khawatir, PPI UK sangat welcome terhadap semua masalah yang ada di teman-teman saat ini, dan jangan sungkan untuk kontak berkaitan dengan support system yang ada, baik teman dekat maupun dengan PPI UK. Dan juga pastikan kalau ada support dari student accommodation yang kalau teman-teman tinggal di akomodasi yang sekarang ini. Dan yang terakhir, jangan lupa ini untuk para PhD students, untuk mengisi research log dan komunikasi dengan supervisor. Karena research log ini akan sebagai bukti bahwa kalian tetap ada monitoring engagement dengan supervisor-supervisor yang ada di UK dengan dalam kondisi seperti ini. Seperti itu.
Oke. Sampai lupa tadi itu pertanyaannya tadi dari @5milamil. Ya. Oke. Iya. Selanjutnya dari @wijoyo.wijoyo.7921. Akan dijawab oleh Mbak Vida, yaitu pertanyaannya, is this recent condition affect 2020 prospect students from Indonesia? Silakan Mbak Vida.
Iya, terima kasih Unge. Ya, jadi untuk student yang mau datang ke UK ya, ini yang mau belajar di UK, ini sejujurnya kami masih belum tahu karena kebijakannya sangat tergantung kepada masing-masing universitas. Karena sejauh yang kami tahu saat ini kampus sangat-sangat sibuk sekali untuk menghandle masalah corona ini bagi student-student yang sekarang sedang S2 maupun S3. Jadi untuk teman-teman yang ingin kuliah di UK atau yang rencananya kuliah di UK tahun ini, bisa dicek di website masing-masing atau langsung ditanyakan ke bagian admission kampusnya. Tapi kalau misalnya mereka agak slow respon, mohon dimaklumi karena mereka juga lagi karena mereka juga lagi dealing with this new condition yang sebelumnya tidak pernah mereka hadapi begitu.
Betul. Jadi bisa dibilang stay tune aja, entah di sosial medianya mereka atau di website dan email ke bagian admission. Nanti pasti akan dijawab kalau memang mereka sudah ada waktu lengang.
Iya.
Lanjut ke pertanyaan keempat dari @ami my name 9. Ini agak susah nih ya, maaf. How about food and groceries when UK is locked down? Is it easy to find in any student city? Mungkin akan dijawab sama Mbak Tika ya.
Oke, jadi memang di kondisi seperti saat ini di mana-mana orang-orang pasti belanjanya sangat panik ya, karena nggak akan tahu sampai kapan kondisi seperti ini dan sangat situasional dan tergantung sekali dengan nanti respon pemerintah seperti apa. Nah, tapi yang bisa dipastikan bahwa sejauh ini untuk di London sendiri beberapa supermarket memastikan kalau stoknya cukup dalam kondisi yang saat ini. Nah, walaupun memang di beberapa supermarket beberapa produk lebih cepat habis dari sebelum kebijakan lockdown ini. Jadi misalnya seperti toilet tissue atau alat-alat kebersihan akan lebih cepat habis dan makanan kalengan seperti itu akan lebih cepat habis. Nah, beberapa supermarket juga sudah mulai punya kebijakan nih di sini. Jadi untuk beberapa hari tertentu untuk pagi sampai siang 1 jam 8 sampai jam 9 pagi pada waktu mereka buka, mereka akan memprioritaskan untuk para elderly dan vulnerable untuk belanja terlebih dahulu. Dan juga mereka memastikan kalau untuk memastikan bahwa stok-stok yang ada nanti di kota-kota lain masih cukup, salah satunya mereka dengan membatasi pembelian barang. Jadi memang saat ini sepertinya semua sektor sedang bergerak untuk bagaimana memastikan agar semua masyarakat tidak panik, dan salah satu kebijakan yang sudah ada di London yang saya amati seperti itu. Jadi nggak usah khawatir. Terus yang kedua juga kalau misalnya untuk di London sendiri, kalau misalnya teman-teman dalam proses karantina atau self-isolation, ada Deliveroo atau Just Eat yang melayani contact free delivery. Jadi untuk yang memang tidak bisa ke supermarket seperti itu. Dan misalnya slot delivery-nya habis di supermarket itu. Jadi nggak usah khawatir. Dan itu sih sebenarnya kayak di sini beberapa supermarket kalau misal nggak semua nggak habis, mungkin ada hambatan pada waktu pengiriman ke kota-kota lain seperti itu. Jadi kalau dari London sendiri sih masih cukup lah untuk beberapa dalam jangka waktu ini gitu.
Ya. Intinya jangan panic buying ya.
Iya, benar banget. Karena kan kita harus solidaritas ya.
Iya, ingat
juga.
Ingat yang lain, betul.
Ingat yang lain, iya benar banget.
Oke, selanjutnya ini mau ada update dari NHS guideline ya tentang corona yang akan dibawakan oleh Mbak Vida, silakan.
Iya, terima kasih Unga. Jadi untuk teman-teman nih yang merasa aku ini gejala corona atau bukan ya gitu. Sekarang kan ini kita tidak disarankan untuk pergi ke rumah sakit, kita tidak disarankan untuk pergi ke toko obat atau farmasi, dan GP sendiri juga sekarang sudah tutup, hanya bisa diakses melalui telepon maupun email. Namun kita masih bisa mengakses websitenya NHS untuk mengecek kondisi kita, apakah kita ini ada gejala, kalau kita curiga ada gejala corona, apa yang harus kita lakukan. Ini saya share dulu ya, Unga. Ini ada websitenya itu di 111.nhs.uk/COVID-19. Coba aku share screen ya.
Iya, bisa Mbak. Ada
ini, oke.
Ya.
Corona, apa yang harus kita... Nah, ini saya share dulu ya, Unga. Ini ada websitenya itu di 111.nhs.uk/COVID-19. Coba aku... Sebentar, maaf, ini kenapa jadi kemana-mana? Bentar, ini websitenya 111.nhs.uk/COVID-19. Jadi kita bisa mengecek diri kita sendiri, dan ini sangat-sangat ditekankan, jangan pergi ke GP, farmasi, atau hospital. Kemudian nantinya kita bisa ngisi postcode-nya, terus habis itu di terakhir-terakhirnya nanti ketika ketika hasilnya itu tidak urgent, nanti itu akan diberi saran kalau misalnya tinggal sendiri di rumah, harus stay di rumah selama 7 hari. Ini ya kalau tinggal sendiri. Tapi kalau kita tinggalnya sama orang lain, share kitchen dan share bathroom, itu kita harus berada di dalam rumah selama 14 hari. Jadi selama 14 hari ini sebetulnya untuk semua orang yang ada di dalam satu rumah.
Oke. Jadi kalau misalnya kayak aku nih, aku satu rumah ada 4 orang. Yang satu suspek berarti semuanya, 5-5-nya nggak boleh keluar gitu ya?
Iya, sebaiknya begitu. Tapi kemarin, ini yang dari websitenya NHS ya, tapi kemarin ada yang telepon ke NHS 111, mereka disarankan untuk yang sakit aja itu, pokoknya yang dikarantinanya yang sakit aja, yang lain itu boleh beliin groceries, tapi menurut aku lebih baik kita melakukan yang ini, jadi semua orang dalam satu rumah selama 14 hari itu nggak keluar rumah.
Oke.
Gitu. Nanti dilihat selama 7 hari. Kalau misalnya setelah 7 hari itu tidak ada tidak ada perkembangan, tidak memburuk gejalanya, nanti bisa keluar tapi nggak sekaligus semuanya gitu loh. Jadi paling penting tuh 7 hari pertama. Kalau misalnya setelah 7 hari itu sudah membaik, yang sakit itu tetap stay, tapi yang lain bisa keluar.
Oke.
Gitu. Terus habis itu bagaimana kalau misalnya kita sakit di rumah, ini banyak minum, kemudian jangan lupa paracetamol, kemudian ini kalau misalnya batuk apa yang harus dilakukan, kemudian jangan lupa cuci tangan, dan kalau misalnya kita merasa kondisi kita memburuk dan kita nggak tahan lagi, bisa langsung telepon 111 gitu.
Oke.
Bisa telepon ke 111, iya.
Tadi kebetulan ada yang nanya juga nih Mbak, di YouTube, dari sebentar. Sinema Kata, katanya, "Halo Kak, ada alternatif pelindung wajah selain masker? Soalnya belakangan sulit sekali mencari masker di London."
Alternatif pelindung wajah selain masker ya. Perlu diketahui dulu siapa yang perlu pakai masker. Yang perlu pakai masker, 1 adalah orang yang sakit, ya. 2 adalah orang yang merawat orang yang lagi sakit. Gitu. Jadi kalau misalnya bukan 2 itu, tidak perlu kita pakai masker. Karena kalaupun kita pakai kain, itu tidak efektif untuk mencegah masuknya virus corona ini gitu. Dan virus corona ini itu dia sampai saat ini Dia menular melalui droplet atau ketika orang batuk atau bersin.
Oke.
Gitu. Jadi dia bakal lebih sering dia tidak melayang di udara, tapi dia langsung jatuh ke tanah. Akan tetapi ada kondisi-kondisi tertentu yang menyebabkan dia bisa agak lama berada di udara. Itu seperti adanya asap, kemudian kabut, itu membuat dia lebih lama ada di udara, tapi most likely mereka akan jatuh ke tanah, jadi tidak melayang di udara gitu.
Oke.
Dan kemudian makanya kalau misalnya kita nggak sakit atau kita tidak merawat orang sakit, kita tidak perlu masker. Dan kalau misalnya kita keluar rumah, yang paling penting adalah cuci tangan itu. Jadi kita tidak diusahakan kalau misalnya kita menyentuh barang-barang atau ya hindari menyentuh dulu pertama. Tapi kalau terpaksa kita menyentuh, kita harus segera cuci tangan. Dan memang daripada kita keluar-keluar dan kemudian tidak pakai masker, ya mending kita stay di rumah aja. Kalau misalnya memang benar-benar takut nih, aku nggak mau keluar kalau nggak pakai masker, ya memang lebih baik kita stay di rumah aja gitu.
Oke. Terus yang terakhir ya Mbak ya, support dari KBRI dan PPI Mbak Fida.
Nah, kalau untuk support dari KBRI dan PPI sendiri, jadi untuk teman-teman yang mempunyai gejala mengarah ke virus corona, nanti dari PPI dan KBRI itu sudah membuatkan link yang bisa diisi agar teman-teman bisa melapor. Ini kelihatan nggak ya?
Kelihatan.
Ya, ini jadi di website dipakai Google Form. Jadi kita akan mendata teman-teman yang memiliki gejala dan atau memiliki rencana pulang. Dan ini juga ada hotline-nya KBRI. Kalau misalnya teman-teman kebingungan tentang bagaimananya yang terkait dengan kepulangan atau perawatan di UK dan lain-lain, bisa menghubungi hotline ini juga. Terus untuk dari PPI dan KBRI juga, misalnya teman-teman ini butuh support secara mental ya. Misalnya teman-teman ini nggak sakit sebenarnya, tapi teman-teman butuh support secara mental, bisa banget nanti kontak ke unit kesehatan. Kita akan membantu sesuai kapasitas kita, bagaimana kita meredakan kekhawatiran teman-teman tentang kondisi ini, karena saya paham kondisi ini tuh sangat-sangat membuat emosi kita tuh bisa naik turun dan dengan sangat cepat sekali. Jadi feel free to kontak unit kesehatan PPI UK kalau misalnya teman-teman mempunyai kecemasan. Dan setelah nanti teman-teman lapor di form ini ya, nanti kan ada kebutuhan teman-teman yang mau disampaikan, misalnya saya butuh suplai obat, saya butuh suplai makanan, atau saya butuh penghiburan dan lain-lain. Nanti bisa kita sampaikan ke KBRI kalau misalnya memang dari PPI UK-nya sendiri cenderung tidak bisa mengatasi begitu. Tapi alhamdulillah sejauh ini dari teman-teman yang lapor sudah bisa diatasi, dan kita juga sudah laporan ke KBRI, dan alhamdulillah sampai sekarang masih belum ada, dan mudah-mudahan jangan sampai ada warga Indonesia di UK yang terkena atau terinfeksi virus corona ini.
Oke. Wow, terima kasih Ibu dokter atas penjelasannya.
Ini gimana ya ending screen-nya? Aku bingung.
di stop Mbak, di stop sharing.
Oh, ini di stop sharing. Maaf ya, saya
Iya,
agak
nggak
katro
apa-apa.
emang.
Mungkin aku nambahin aja tadi Tika sempat ngebahas soal yang mau pulang ke Indonesia. Kebetulan tadi ada kabar dari Prof. Amin bahwa ada beberapa sepertinya mahasiswa yang akan pulang ke Indonesia hari ini. Beliau bertemu di bandara dan sempat ada semacam kendala, yaitu jadi ada surat yang dikeluarkan oleh Kementerian Luar Negeri mengenai siapa yang bisa masuk ke Indonesia dan siapa yang tidak. Untuk diperjelas lagi bahwa kita sebagai WNI itu tidak ada masalah, kita tetap bisa pulang. Yang dilarang itu adalah untuk WNA. Lalu suratnya itu sebenarnya udah ada di IATA, tapi ada beberapa airlines yang memang belum memegangnya. Jadi mungkin nanti aku bisa share di di kolom chat di YouTube ini link untuk ngedownload surat itu ya, karena mungkin airlines-nya yang belum megang, tapi sebenarnya surat itu udah ada di IATA gitu.
Iya.
Gitu. Paling ya Mbak Vida terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak tambahnya juga Mbak.
Oke, terima kasih semua yang udah mendengarkan laporan update corona kita hari ini. Kalau misalnya nanti mungkin ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan lanjutan, mungkin kita bisa bikin version keduanya. Semoga kita semua sehat-sehat terus.
Amin.
Semoga bencana ini segera berakhir dan kita semua bisa kembali ke normal. Amin.
Amin.
Oke, terima kasih semua. Sampai ketemu lagi ya.
Sampai ketemu lagi ya.
Ya, dadah.